So all these years I have somehow managed to not ever shoot the IWI Jericho. So I thought it was high time I changed all that, and this will be my very first time shooting the gun. I have yet to shoot it. I did take it down and inspect it and lube it up. It is brand new. I bought it the other day on kind of an impulse at the local gun store, and it's so my first impressions before I shoot the gun is that it's extremely nicely made. I really like the fit and finish of it. I'm on the fence a little bit about the grip angle. Not so much the grip angle, but this sort of really big bulge at the back bottom. Like I say, I'm kind of on the fence. When I start shooting it, I'll get a better idea. But it feels a little different holding it. It kind of forces my hand at a orientation where my trigger finger is pulled back. If you know what I mean. I gotta bring my hand this way more instead of this way more. Okay, so enough yakking for now. There's plenty of time for that later. Comes with 2 magazines. They hold 17 rounds each. It is a hammer-fired gun, of course. It is a double action, single action. It does not have a decocker. It does have a safety. So once you have the hammer cocked, that's kind of it. That's where you are. I think I scared away a couple of doves that were perching over there. Three-dot sight picture. Fairly tight, which is good. Combat sights. They are not tritium or night sights in any way. Yeah, the grip feels okay. I'm not minding it. Okay. Well, that was 17 rounds. Nice and slow. That targets 13 yards downrange. My lucky distance, 13 yards. But I kept them all in the white, which is the objective. This model is the Jericho 941 FS. It's a mid-sized handgun made of all steel. I wasn't able to find good information on the type of finish on the pistol. It looks like a nitride, but I could be wrong. All right, moving on. I'm going to spread out around my TA Targets steel target array downrange. The grip angle didn't bother me, really. This is a steel-framed gun, so it's got a little bit of weight to it. And, you know, it feels comfortable in the hand. Seems pretty well balanced. It's got that CZ75 design inside-out slide-to-frame fit, where the slide rails go down inside the frame rather than over the top of the outside of the frame. The barrel is non-tilting. Again, going back to that CZ75 design. So rather than the John Browning tilting barrel lug, you've got a barrel that stays straight. Many people feel that that helps to keep the gun more accurate. I'm not convinced that it really does, but I think it may help keep the gun a tiny bit flatter. Anyway, I got 17 more rounds in magazine number 2. I wish there was a way to, so you can engage the safety. It's not an ambidextrous safety, but it is a safety, and it does provide you with a dead trigger, but there's no way to decock the hammer. I wish there was. I could shoot double action. I mean, I could do it the old-fashioned way, just slowly let the hammer down. Let's try that. All right. So I have decocked the hammer the old-fashioned way by just dropping the hammer gently. And now I have, or should have, a double action trigger. So let me take this first shot double action. It's not a bad double action pull, not at all. Seems to like a combat hold, which isn't my favorite, but it's doing a nice job with it, so I can't complain. Well, yeah, I guess I could complain. Ask anybody that knows me. All right, that's pretty good. You know, for a new pistol that I'm not used to. That was easy for me to say. All right, so considering that was just my second magazine through the gun, I'm pleased that I'm able to find the whole point it likes and put them on target. You know, I had a few misses here and there, but not too many. And those plates are pretty small at this distance. Those plates are about 15 yards away, and you know, they're like 6 inches in diameter, and the square ones are like 6 inches diagonally, so they're pretty small. All right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to drop the slide with the slide stop control this time, which works very nicely. Yeah, I think I'm finding the sweet spot. Except for there. Oh, I finished on a miss, darn it. Both the fit of the parts and the finish are very good. However, when you look closely in some areas, there are a high number of small chips and scratches and dents. It looks to me like they have a poor handling process at the factory, and these parts were abused during manufacturing. I picture a lot of parts bins being shoved around with the parts rattling around against each other. That said, almost everything else about the pistol is impressive to me. It comes with 2 magazines. IWI publishes the capacity at 16, but I was able to easily get 17 into them. The barrel is 3.8 inches long, and it is nitride finished. I was impressed that after my range work, the barrel still looks brand new with no wear marks, no smiley faces on it. Overall length of the gun is 7.6 inches, and it weighs 1.95 pounds empty. IWI says the sights are adjustable. Yeah, they're dovetail mounted and they can be adjusted for windage, but that's it. So I think that term is a bit misleading. So this is the shorter 4-inch version, or you know, just about 4 inches. I'll give you the exact specs on the barrel length, but it's the shorter version of the IWI Jericho, and it is the 941. It's a heavy little gun. You know, it's a steel frame, of course, but it feels like there's a lot of weight out front. And if you're going to have a lot of weight, that's probably as good a place to have it as any, because that's going to help you keep the gun a little bit flatter. So I've been shooting pretty slow, very deliberate right now, trying to, get my feel for the sights, and I think I've got that dialed in. I know where it likes to be held. So I think I'm going to speed up a little bit more and miss a lot more, but I want to get more of a feel for the balance of the gun, how much muzzle flip it has, and things like that when I'm shooting it. Okay, so there's also a half cock position to this hammer, and that half cock position, just with me playing with it in dry fire, seems to, so here's single action obviously, and then double action, which you can do in dry fire all day long, which is nice, but again, there's no hammer drop control. But there's also a half cock. And with a half cock, you can bring the trigger back to just about the wall, and then you've got a little shorter pull. It's not as long as it is in the full double action. It's just the same weight. You're not saving anything there. And trust me, it's not like a single action pull, but it's sort of something in between. So it's kind of interesting. I might try that. All right, I'm going to let this hammer down. And I'm going to try half cock just for fun for my first shot. Okay, not bad. So it feels like it stays pretty flat when I'm shooting. Try 10 more at a brisk pace. Yeah, I like the way the muzzle stays flat. It does a nice job. My sights really never leave. They jump obviously, but they never really leave my target. So follow-up shots are pretty simple. IWI doesn't publish the height, but my tape measure says that it's 5.5 inches tall. I measured the double action trigger at 10 pounds 13 ounces, and the single action broke at 4 pounds 14 ounces. I talked about the hammer at the range, and as I mentioned, it does have a half-cock position. The safety will engage at that position, so one could carry it that way. Again, I'm disappointed that there's no safe hammer drop mechanism, something that I think all double-action pistols should have. The gun is clearly inspired by the CZ75, and it uses many of its design elements. The most obvious is the inverted slide-to-frame mounting and the barrel lockup method. The field strip is simple and straightforward, with just one or two interesting finds. The recoil spring is a dual spring combination, but it's not a captured spring in any way. The inner spring can easily be removed. The oddity I found is that the lug or bushing for the guide rod, located on the lower front of the slide, is a removable part, where in almost every other gun it's not. It's nicely machined and it's a great design. I don't see any practical reason for it or any advantage, but I can imagine that it really improves the manufacturing process of the slide. The grips are okay and they have the IWI logo inlaid, but they don't offer a whole lot of traction, but they got the job done. The front and rear straps have vertical grooves only, and I didn't have any trouble with a good grip, so I can't complain. I'm really liking this trigger. This is not, I'm not going to try and convince you this is some sort of competition trigger. It is a double action, single action trigger. I'll put a gauge on it later. It feels like 10 pounds maybe for the double action. The single action is really nice. And this reset, pretty short, very tactile. You can hear it and I can feel it nicely. And you're right there at the wall. So once you have the reset, it puts you right back on the edge of that sear. There's no additional take up. There's no sponginess. Just a very crisp break, and it feels light. That feels like it's definitely under 5 pounds. That's got to be somewhere in the 4 pounds or low 4 pound area is what I'm thinking for that single action trigger. But I really do like the feel of it. So more than just the numbers, what's always been important to me is how the trigger feels in terms of its crispness. And this trigger is very, very smooth and crisp. So even when you have all that take up with the double action, very little grit. Right there about halfway, when you get to that half cock position, there's a little, you can feel a little notch you're working through. Right there, but barely. Very smooth. And of course, if you were to, you know, shoot rapidly in double action, it feels very smooth. As for the shape of the grip, it really didn't seem to bother me at all in live fire, and I think it gave me the appropriate grip angle for the pistol. Long before I came along, people were already referring to the Jericho as a baby Desert Eagle, and the familiar profile is fairly clear. The shape of the muzzle, the grip angle and design, the beaver tail that curves downward rather than upward, are all cues to the Deagle. Side by side, you can really see it, and you can also get some perspective on their different sizes. Overall, I think the Jericho 941 is a great looking handgun. If they didn't rough it up so much at the factory, it would be gorgeous. One of the things about the CZ75 type slide design, you know, the inside out, is that a lot of times the serration area on the back is hard to grab. But this one, and I noticed this, you know, right away with dry fire, is that it's easy to get a good hold on it. Boy, I guess I didn't get the memo that today was noisy airplane day. So far I'm over 100 rounds and I haven't had even the slightest hint of any kind of problem, malfunction or anything like that. This thing has been smooth. I'm shooting Federal, by the way. Federal 115 grain ball is the ammo that I'm shooting. Okay, same distance, 13 yards. I'm going to put some on paper with the Federal 115 grain ball. Same stuff I've been shooting, and I just want to get an idea how well I shoot this gun. All right, there's 10 rounds. Not too terrible, I don't think. I will say it gets a little bit fatiguing shooting 10 round slow group just because of the weight of this gun. But that's not too bad. I can feel myself getting a little bit tired though. So, with a suggested retail price of $655, it's competing with a lot of top brand guns. And when it comes to the CZ type action, there's a full field of participants. I will say this, the gun never had a single hiccup of any kind. I think the accuracy potential was there too, even though I shoot other guns better. Given a bit more time and some reps, I think I could probably cut my group size in half. I'm always hesitant to blame any gun for my accuracy errors. It's just a matter of me getting used to shooting that particular gun. I don't see anyone carrying this gun, really. It's very heavy, but of course that weight helps it shoot flat, and it does shoot flat. As a competition gun, it also has some shortcomings where other guns in this price range don't. So I really see it as a home defense gun, which it would be great for, or as a range toy. As I said, this was a purchase from the local gun shop. Whether it remains in the collection long term is an unknown at this moment. I would like to take it out and do some comparisons to some similar guns. Bottom line is, it's a nicely made gun. It's a sound design, very well executed, and a lot of fun to shoot. I think the price is on par for an all-steel gun of this type, but I'm taking away some points for the rough handling of the gun before a customer gets it, and the lack of a decocker. I like the Jericho 941 SF. Shooting it was great fun, and it made me smile, and that goes a long way. What are your thoughts? Do you have one? Or is it on your list? Let me know in the comments. Hey, you can really support the channel and help keep content flowing just by hitting the like and being a subscriber. I'm also on Patreon if you want to support me that way, and you usually get early access to most videos and some behind-the-scenes stuff. Look in the description of this video and you'll see several discount codes and affiliate links. You can save significant money on products that I use and recommend. And if you think this video was especially helpful to you, or you just want to say thanks, there's a button for that right below the video on YouTube. It's a thanks button. It's like leaving a tip if you got good service. This is just an opinion. Thanks for watching.